Hi and welcome to another episode here on the channel. Today we're going to analyze the trade situation in the world where taxes has been getting higher based on the USA putting tariffs on countries all around the world. And as you know, in a modern society, all the economies are kind of intersecting, and this will have a lot of effects. And if you follow economy, obviously you haven't missed that. And the focus of today will be to gain a more understanding about how trade balance works, and especially we will use a case study here, maybe we could say, about two countries and the trade balance between USA and Mexico, and what kind of export Mexico has to USA. And through analyzing that, we can understand how higher taxes on trade can affect the price and the trade relationship and overall the economy. So we use like the Mexico and USA situation, and through that we will gain knowledge for that we can use on the world as a whole to understand the ongoing situation here. And hopefully the information I provide here today can make you feel a bit more at ease about the ongoing situation and understand what's really happening, because there are a lot of words that are being thrown around, like trade balance, trade deficit, tariffs, etc. Firstly, we can say that tariffs is the same thing as taxes. It's higher taxes, but it's easier to say a tariff because it doesn't have that negativity in it. Like if like, for example, it was time to vote and the politicians would use like, oh, we're gonna have higher taxes on everything, people wouldn't vote. But tariffs is more like a subtle way of saying like higher taxes. So that is why they are using the word tariffs, but it's actually higher taxes on trade. And today, as you know, we have a lot of new policies from USA making higher taxes on trade on countries all around the world. It's about 25% on all automotive, cars, etc., but also overall on a lot of trade, even though they have kind of different rules depending on what country, etc. So as of today, we're going to focus on the trade balance between USA and Mexico. Mexico has about trade surplus on USA on $170 billion. So they sell more to USA than what USA sell to them. So that could be seen as something positive for Mexico. They are providing USA with great products that they can sell. The thing is, it can also be a good thing for a country to have a trade deficit, because sometimes you can buy the products cheaper than outside of your country, than you can produce inside your country. Then you can use the products you buy, make new products of them, and later sell it to a higher price inside of your country. For example, in USA, the companies like Ford, etc., buy automotive parts from Mexico. Then they build the car inside of USA, for example, and they sell it to consumers. So a negative trade balance do not have to be like a negative thing, even though you are hearing that from politicians. So the ongoing trade tariff situation, it's not about countries taking advantage of USA with having like a negative trade balance to the countries, because a negative trade balance doesn't mean that it's negative for the country. Even though making it more expensive to buy from other countries will they want to push like manufacturing inside the country who are deciding to have the higher taxes on trade. That will be a slow process, and meanwhile the products will either be higher or the companies who sell the products will have smaller profit margins. So we will see who will benefit from the ongoing situation, short term, long term, how long will the tariffs stay, etc. We don't know. And yeah, that's short about that. Let's get down to the specific exports from Mexico to USA, so we understand how or if the export will be affected by the new policies. So first, we have about 36% of the exports in Mexico are automotive parts and products for vehicles, etc. So that just means that the USA are very dependent on Mexico to build vehicles of all sort of vehicles, motorbikes, cars, etc. That industry will be affected because there are higher taxes on automotive parts specific. So before there are being built factories, it will be an immediate effect on the consumers because cars will probably be more expensive, or if not, the government like subsidize that higher cost for the companies. We have like 18% of the trade from Mexico to USA is electronics, like TVs, computers, phones, semiconductors, etc. So you might not think that is a big export, but it is. They are really good in Mexico in providing these types of products, and they're making it cheap and great quality. And by hiring taxes, obviously, it will be harder to sell that type of products, and also to build semiconductors, computers, etc. if a lot of parts are being bought through Mexico to USA. So that is something we have to keep our eye on. Obviously, that the effect here can be that everyday goods for people can be higher in prices, meaning inflation might rise if companies want to stay on the same profit margins. And also, obviously, if the trade goes down, that can mean that people in Mexico might lose jobs if, like, USA will buy less from Mexico based on the policies that are being applied. Hopefully that is not the case here. We don't know how the companies short term will go about in this situation. The third category here, about 12% of the trade, is machinery and equipment. And obviously, as we said, they are going to have to create new factories inside of USA, but meanwhile they need to like create the factories. They need machinery and equipment, which they buy from Mexico, but now the trade taxes to Mexico is higher, meaning it will be more expensive to build the factories. So it's like kind of a strange situation going on, and short term, I guess the consumer will have to pay the price. So tariff is like an expensive thing short term. So to make this effective for USA, I guess they probably need to keep the higher taxes on trade going on for a while to really change the behavior of companies. The fourth biggest category is medical devices and pharmaceuticals. So that's kind of an important thing for everyday man and woman, because if you don't get that medical treatment to a low price, you won't get as good as a treatment as you can. And it's the same actually for a lot of countries. US are importing a lot of medical equipment and pharmaceuticals, etc. So also from Europe. So that could be something that will really affect the everyday person in the USA. So we will see. Probably people will still have to buy, so people will be more in debt because in the end of the day you need to survive, and you will probably pay the price on higher medical prices, etc. 5 is agriculture products. Maybe this type of products is what you have heard most about in the media when we're talking about higher taxes on trade with Mexico, because a lot of avocados, tomatoes, beer, tequila, etc. are being imported from Mexico into USA, and it's very popular products. For example, avocados is very popular in New York, in Hollywood, etc. So it will really change fast, but I still think they will import a lot of goods here because in the end of the day they will consume it, and the people who buys avocado already probably has quite a lot of money to being able to afford such healthy food. but it's not good for the inflation, etc. So people will have less money over to do other things, and that can affect, like, I don't know, going to the cinema or whatever. So it's not an easy thing to put tariffs on everything short term. And yeah, that's about agricultural products like this are about 6.5% of the trade exports from Mexico to USA. So Mexico should keep that in mind. We will see what happens there. Number 6 is oil and gas. So this is about 4%, 20 billion. So they sell some oil and gas. And we heard about the oil and gas situation from Canada into the USA also, that USA wants to have more of that market themselves. So we will see what happens. Will Mexico sell to another country? Obviously, there are countries who are willing to buy oil and gas, so they probably can sell, but maybe to not as a good profit margin, because they have to ship that maybe to like Asia or something. So it's not like the biggest deal for Mexico, but it's better for them to sell to USA because it's closer, it's better for the environment, and they can have better profits. So number 7 is aerospace and defense equipment. So this is also like probably like vehicles, automotives, etc. A lot of the parts are being made in Mexico because they have an efficient way to create those parts, and now USA want to build that machinery themselves, create that efficiency themselves. But will they be able to do that and replace that in Mexico? I don't know. But I guess in terms of aerospace and defense equipment, Europe will start spending more money, so they probably have a great consumer over there. So it's not like the biggest deal short term for Mexico. I think they can find new partners in this kind of time in human history. Unfortunately, a lot of countries are building up their militaries more now. It could be a good thing, but mostly a bad thing, I would say. Number 9 is textiles and apparel, like clothing, shoes, and leather goods. And I mean, that can affect the everyday worker in Mexico if they can't sell as many products anymore, and also maybe clothing, shoes, etc. will be more higher priced in USA. So we will see what happens there, but it's about textiles and apparel is about 2.5% of the exports from Mexico, about 12 billion. Furniture and home goods is about 11 billion exports. So furnitures also for like a family with, like, they maybe not have too much money over after paying mortgages, rents, etc. And now furnitures and home goods will be a bit more expensive because they can't make them as cheap because Mexico is out of the deal. I mean, that is not a good thing for either Mexico or USA short term. So yeah. The next is 10 billion of chemicals and plastics. So we will see if USA can make the things themselves, but if they keep importing from Mexico, it will be more expensive for the consumer. A lot of the things here they can't just magically start doing themselves in the US. So the products will probably be more expensive because companies just don't give away profit margins. They want to keep the profit margins increasing. That is how they get the shareholder value, etc. So, I mean, it's probably the consumer who gets to pay in the end of the day. And maybe through inflation, maybe we'll have to, countries will continue to print too much money, which we don't want, because that has been the problem for a couple of years in many countries now, especially USA, with a huge debt to GDP ratio and a multi-trillion-dollar debt with a lot of interest rates to pay. And lastly, we have 4.3% in other manufactured goods like toys, appliances, etc. So there are actually a lot of things that are being sold from Mexico to USA. So it's a lot. Unfortunately, it's a lot of products here that will be higher in cost for the consumer short term. Let's hope that Mexico can continue to sell a lot of products to USA to keep the unemployment rate as low as possible. And if they can't sell to USA, maybe they can sell more to other consumers like Brazil or Europe or Asia, etc. We will see how long the higher taxes on trade will be ongoing. But I think it's not a short-term thing. This is something that USA has wanted to do under this leadership for a while. So just it's a new world out there. So just keeping flexible, maybe find new ways of exporting and find a way to expand the trade with more countries, etc. But I think Mexico still will sell a lot of things to USA, and yeah, that's my take on it. So we have 25% tariff on vehicles and auto parts, so this will hit Mexico the most because they had about 36% automotive in the export. We have the 10% baseline tariff on all export, so that's all the categories I told you about, and also the steel and aluminium tariffs will probably reduce about 15 billion exports. It depends on how fast USA is in redirecting that to manufacturing inside of US. So that will be interesting to see how it works out. So basically this could slow trade growth and increase costs for US consumers, and also it can cause some unemployment in Mexico short term. Especially in the industries relying on Mexican imports, the industries, that kind of industries will be quite affected by this change. But this is policy, this is politics, where you just have to be flexible, keep your vision long term, don't get swept away by everything that's going on. You have to keep your long-term strategy for yourself, for your investment, and also for every country. You just have to find that sweet spot where you're not getting dragged into every drama everywhere. Just find your thing and keep focused long-term. So that is my what I can say here today. Thank you very much for taking your time here. It's always great to talk to you, and hopefully you learned something today. And if I missed something, just write in the comments below, and I will see you.